Hey guys, sorry I'm out today. We're going to pick up with 9.3. So, period 5-6, we just started question number 1 yesterday. Period 7-8, we didn't look at this at all. So, let's just review a little bit and take a look at the question for 9.3. So, we've got two elevators, elevator A and elevator B. Both of them can go above and below ground. So, here's ground level right here. And it says at a certain time of the day, the travel time it takes elevator A to reach height h in meters is 0.h plus 16 seconds. The travel time it takes elevator B to reach height h in meters is negative 8 tenths h plus 12 seconds. So they look very similar. They both have a similar slope but different y-intercepts. So here's the expression for A and here's the expression for B. So in period 5-6, we started with question 1 and we said, what's the height of each elevator at this time? And the first thought was, well, here's my h, here's my height, and this indicates that it's 8 tenths h, and this indicates that it's negative 0.8 tenths h. So it seemed to make sense that, hey, this one's probably 8 tenths meters above ground, that's elevator A, and then elevator B would be negative 0.8 tenths below ground. The only issue is, if we think about this for a second, this is a slope, and slope is a rate. Remember that slope is a rate of change. So those slopes, that negative 0.8 and 0.8, can't indicate a fixed position. It's not a constant, it's going to be a rate. So this is not going to give us the information we need. And part of the trouble is we don't really have an equation here. We just have two expressions. So let's complete this equation. So we're talking about two things. We're talking about time and height. But in my expression, I only have height. So I can make this t equals 0.8h plus 16 and t equals negative 0.8h plus 12 for elevator A and elevator B. So then it says, what's the height of each elevator at this time? Well, they don't give us a time. So if we're starting at the beginning, the time is going to be 0. So for elevator A, we're going to make the time 0. So 0 equals 8 tenths h plus 16. So in your notebooks, let's copy this down, and you're going to solve for h. So pause the video and solve for h, and then come on back. All right, let's check to see how you did. So remember, you want to get your constants on one side and your variables on the other. So I'm going to subtract 16 from the right, and I'm going to subtract 16 from the left. I get negative 16 equals 8 tenths h. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 0.8. So what's negative 16 divided by 8 tenths? Remember, we don't divide by a decimal. So I'm going to change that to a whole number by multiplying by 10. I'm going to do the same thing here. So really, it's negative 160 divided by 8. So 8 is going to go into negative 160 20 times, and it's going to be negative, so it's going to be negative 20 equals h. So elevator A is going to be 20 meters below ground level. Now we're going to do the same thing for B. So in your notebook, copy it down. 0 equals negative 0.8h plus 12. Go ahead and solve this equation, and then pause the video, and then come on back. All right, let's see how you did. So let's subtract 12 from both sides. So I get negative 12 equals negative 0.8h. I know I keep switching back between cursive and print. Divide both sides by negative 0.8. So we have negative 12 divided by 0.8. Boom, boom. So it's really 120 divided by 8. Goes in once. Goes in 5 times. And negative divided by negative is positive. So this is going to be 15 equals h. So what that means is elevator A is 20 feet below ground level, and elevator B, meters. Elevator A is negative 20 meters below ground level, and elevator B is 15 meters above ground level. So that's going to be our answer for number 1. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So number 2 says, how long would it take each elevator to reach ground level at this time? So our variable h is going to stand for height. So here's my ground level, Anything above ground level is going to be a positive number. Anything below ground level is going to be a negative number. And ground level is going to be my 0. So if I want to know when these elevators are going to get to ground level, I need to make my height 0. So now let's bring over our equation. So I have for elevator A, let's rewrite our equation here. So T equals 0.8h plus 16. Okay, so let's write this down in your notebooks. And now, in number 1, to find the time at 0, I replace t with a 0. Now, to find the height at ground level, I'm going to replace h with a 0 because I want to know when will it be at ground level. So we're going to substitute 0 for h and solve for t. So t equals 0.8 parentheses 0 plus 16. Well, of course, any number times 0 is 0. So really, this is t equals 16. So elevator A is going to hit ground level in 16 seconds because this is time in seconds. Okay, so that's elevator A. Elevator B, our equation is t equals negative 0.8h plus 12. Now you need to figure out when is elevator B going to hit ground level. So go ahead and substitute 0 for h and solve. So pause the video and then come on back. All right, so let's see how we did. So t equals negative 0.8 times 0 plus 12. Well, of course, negative 8 tenths times 0 is 0. So my t equals 12. So you should have found out that it's going to take elevator B 12 seconds to hit ground level. So the answer to number 2 for elevator A, it's 16 seconds. Elevator B, 12 seconds. All right, let's take a look at question 3. So question 3 says, if the two elevators travel toward one another, at what height do they pass each other, and how long would it take? So let's tackle the first question. So to figure out at what height they're going to pass each other, what I need to do is solve for h. So my first expression for elevator A is 0.8h plus 16. And I need to make that equal to elevator B, which is negative 0.8h plus 12. This will allow me to solve for h, which is going to be the height at when the elevators pass each other. So I always like to tackle my least variable first. So I'm going to add 8 tenths h to both sides. So go ahead and copy this down, solve for h, and then come on back and see how you did. All right, so like I said, the best way to start for me is to add 8 tenths h to both sides. I'm going to add 8 tenths h to the right and the left. This cancels out. I get 1 6 tenths h plus 16 equals 12. Subtract 16, subtract 16. We get 1 6 tenths h equals negative 4. And then we're going to divide both sides by 1 6 tenths. So now I have to do negative 4 divided by 1 6 tenths. So 4 divided by 1.6. Remember to make this a whole number. Multiply by 10. So really it's 40 divided by 16. It's going to go in twice. 32. Subtract, we get 8. We're going to add a decimal point. Add a 0. 16 goes into 85 times. So what that means is the height is going to be negative 2.5 meters below ground. So the height when they pass each other is going to be negative 2.5 meters. There's your answer for question number 3. Okay, so we have half the answer for number 3. Now we have to answer the second question. How long would it take? So we know the height where they're going to pass each other, negative 2.5 meters. So to figure out the time, what we're going to do is substitute h with negative 2.5 and then simplify. So let's start with elevator A. So elevator A is 0.8, oops, let me fix that, not 8.8, 0.8 times negative 2.5 plus 16. So we have to multiply 8 tenths times negative 2 and 5 tenths. Now when I do this, I'm going to look at this as whole numbers. I'm going to look at this as 8 times 25. And anytime I work with 25, I just think about quarters. So I think about 8 quarters. Well, that's $2, so it's going to be 200, right? So that's 200. But my factors had 2 decimal places, so my answer needs 2 decimal places, and it's going to be a negative. So that's going to be negative 2 plus 16. which of course is 14. And since this is going to be time, this is going to be 14 seconds. Now, since they're passing each other at the same time, this should, or at the same height, this should be the time for both of them. But to check it, I can also substitute negative 2.5 in for elevator B and make sure I get the same thing. So go ahead and do that in your notebooks. Copy down the expression for elevator B, but substitute negative 2.5 for H. So you should write this down, negative 0.8 times negative 2.5 plus 12. Go ahead and simplify. So pause and simplify and then come on back. All right, let's see how you did. So again, 8 times 2.5 is going to be 2, and it's a negative times a negative, so it's going to be a positive 2. And 2 plus 12 is 14. So that checks out. So the answer to the second question in number 3 is it's going to take 14 seconds for the two elevators to get to the same height. All right, now that we're done with 9.3, you should be ready for the homework. So you're going to spend the rest of the period completing 1 through 7 in the homework. I will post an additional video going over the homework if you finish it before the end of class, but you are not to watch that video until you have completed the homework either on your own or with a partner or in a small group. Okay? So I'll be back tomorrow. We'll go over this. If you don't get the homework done before the end of the period, you have to complete it at home tonight. All right, good luck, guys. And if again, I'll post a second video for the homework if you finish it. See you tomorrow. Bye.